1 2 1 2. Ladies and gents, welcome to a Thompsin and Other Disappointments on Friday night. It's 7:30. Let's just fade out the fucking music, shall we? Let's get straight into it. Welcome to episode 163 of the show. I am your host, Aid Thompsin. And if you haven't joined me before for another episode, this is a show where we do what exactly? We set out your stall, Aid. What are you offering people for first-time listeners? This is a fucking sweary, beery hour where we try to make sense of the senseless. And on occasion, I'm joined with somebody with whom I enjoy a beer and I, like to talk shit with. Twice a week, I bring my cynical, depressive, and downright pissy take on the dystopian reality we now inhabit to you in audio and visual form, podcast and live streamy style. And so if you are partial to a bit of pissiness, if you are happiest when you are sad, dear listener, you are welcome here. Crack open a beer, pour yourself a cheeky G&T, and allow us to bring light to your darkness as we dance into the doom-lolzery once more. It is good to have you with us tonight. Seriously, though, if you are feeling a bit down, and there is a lot to feel down about at the moment, the NHS, the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis, if you're feeling down, I have just the guest for you tonight. Because truly, he is the biggest beam of sunshine I've ever known. He just bleaches the shadows away with the sunshine and happiness in his heart. You guys are in for an uplifting hour with the pair of us. Me fucking ranting about how shit everything is and, hosting a podcast about how fucked we all are. And my guest is just this explosion of gaiety and joy. Please welcome to the show, Ben fucking Adams. Woo! Ben,
Hi.
how are you doing?
How you doing? Hello, how you doing? It's good.
I'm good.
Good to
Cheers.
be here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, although Friday's meaningless for me. It's all the same.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're an actor, you're a stand-up comedian, you're
All that.
a creator of content.
Oh yeah, I love content.
So yeah, I suppose the days sort of blur into one today.
Yeah, basically, yeah. If anything, I hate the weekends more than regular days because all the pricks are out at the weekend, and you have to deal with them.
You feel like free time is sort of your thing. And then,
Yeah. It's like, how dare you? How dare you go to a restaurant now? What? I want to go to a restaurant on Saturday night. Oh, I can't because you're all there. God damn it!
Like you have ownership on the fucking restaurant scene.
Yeah, I should. Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, I'm supportive of this violent, authoritarian, iron fist take on restaurantism. I can't talk tonight. My vocabulary is completely left.
I hate the idea of totalitarianism unless it was me that was the rule.
I mean, it's pretty
The
standard,
overseer.
Yeah. In the intro, I sort of made you sound like crestfallen and melancholy and a bit understated, but I suppose it's one of the great ironies that. So I always feel like people like yourself, and maybe to me to some extent, we're quite depressive and down, and we have a dark sense of humour. But at the same time, I think to engage with, to speak with, we're sort of reasonably
Fairly
upbeat.
nice. Yeah. That's what I struggle with. Is that I've got the darkest sense of humour on the circuit, but I try and be all cheerful with it. Like I've never liked to be like Frankie Boyle or anyone that just comes on and is like, oh, I'm a wanker, and I'm gonna do dark humour because I'm a prick. I'm always like, hello, I'm the nicest guy in the world, and let's talk about your mum's death.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into this a little bit. So, like, normally I ask guests to introduce themselves a little bit, like, how did you get into doing what it is that you do, or I explain to people why that person is interesting. But with you, so like you and I know each other from doing stand-up back in the day.
Yeah.
And if you will indulge me for a moment, I shall now sort of join the dots on this. I'll now try to colour this in a way that I hope is sort of reflective of who you are still now as a person. Yeah. So are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and we are off like a prom dress. Here we go. So when I did stand-up, I used to rant a lot, you may recall, and others may recall. But you used to crack jokes about dark things, Ben. Like your stuff, like my stuff was, you know, occasionally I would get complaints if I ranted too loud or I swore too much or I, you know, drew a clumsy metaphor or something. But then yours was like, this was before the whole cancel culture thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, here's what, this is a typical gig where like, if you and I were both on the bill, like I would come in and I would do a routine about how I'd done a lot of drugs. Or like, you know, I'd done too many pills and then my pupils had got so big that my friends had fallen in them. Like that sort of, you know, drug culture kind of stuff. And I thought that was sort of edgy or at worst, just sort of, you know, interesting maybe versus some of the other acts. So I thought I was sort of darkish. And then you would come on and do a joke about like licking your cat's arsehole.
Yeah. Yeah. Very Moorish.
And dead babies and stuff.
Dead babies?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And, you know, I suppose this is a point where some of my listeners are like, whoa, hang on a second. You know, I was here for the, you know, activism and the fuck the Tory stuff and all that. But, you know, hey, this is a bit much. And it is too much. But I'm just saying, back in the day, you had, you know, I think I've got a high bar, but you sort of pushed the boundaries quite a lot. Are you still like that?
Well, I don't really have a bar. Like, I've always, what's always annoyed me more than anything is people calling me edgy and edgelord. Right. Or anything like that. I hate all that stuff because to me it's like, well, yeah, I have a dark sense of humor, but I never ever try. I'm never ever trying to be shocking. I'm never ever trying to get the laugh out of this is shocking. Yeah, it's more like this is just my sense of humor. Like, and the world is a dark, horrible place. Like, especially now, and that's where the funny is, isn't it? Like everyone that's always been around me. I remember my uncle got prostate cancer, right? Hilarious, right? But he would joke. He'd joke, oh, I have to pump my penis up now and I can't get an erection and stuff like that. Sounds awful. It sounds horrendous, but you deal with these things with humor as a human being. I do anyway. I mean, mainly I'm very, you know, working class man of the people. And that's what, I don't look very working class or sound working class. Oh, but yeah, I've always found that. I've always sort of joked about things that are dark, and that's what I've always struggled with is not being that edgelord type guy, going for the shock, but at the same time, like you say, doing jokes that people are like, whoa, okay. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, so I had Steve McLean on here a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was with him. Maybe it was with someone else. But anyway, let's assume that it was him. And we were talking about whether people like, do people try to be like edgy, or do people try to stay clean with their material? And I think he was saying something like, you know, I would fucking kill to be able to write a joke that clean, that's that funny. And I was like, yeah, but it's not about trying to write a joke that's that clean. It's just that some people are actually like, the clean stuff just occurs to them. Like that's their wheelhouse. It's like, oh, I'll write a joke about bikes. I'll write a joke about, you know, how sunny it was today. Like, whereas I think with me, and to a greater extent you, it's like you don't decide to write quote unquote edgy comedy. You just exactly, it's like the darkness just like takes over your brain.
That is me. That's just my personality, and I think you've always got to show your truth on stage, and if you're not doing that, you're just sort of fake. And but I can write joke. I've got the silliest joke in the world in my set at the moment, where I've got a bag and it starts talking, and I go, oh yeah, you're all really lovely, and I pull out and I go, oh, what a sweet potato, and it's a sweet potato. That's not dark. It's not dark in any way. But then, you know, there's other jokes that they're quite dark, although I have calmed down a bit. I definitely have calmed down a bit since I've got older.
Yeah.
Because I was doing stand-up, and then the whole council culture sort of thing came in. Yeah. And I personally hate offending, like genuinely offending people upsets me. I hate it. I don't like the idea of it. But then as that started to come in, I found it harder and harder to be myself. And I just thought, no, there's no place for me. I can't do what I'm doing now at the moment. But that's why I'm back now, because it seems like people are starting to sort of come around to comedy again. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, like, so just to go back to what you were saying a minute ago about the sweet potato joke, like for me, like already I'm thinking, see, that's a fun innocent joke, but it would almost work. Maybe you do this already, but it would almost work even better if it came after like 3 or 4 really fucking dark jokes, so that then there's the expectation there. People are thinking, oh God, what's he going to pull out the fucking bag? And then it's innocent. It's like the innocence becomes the joke.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I like to end on a nice sort of, a sort of a funny, stupid joke. It just makes me laugh because it's been so dark.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think?
But again, I don't think anything's that dark. There'll be jokes that I tell that I think, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm only worried about this one joke. But then I'll tell a joke and people go, oh, and I think, what? Oh, okay. Oh, I guess that's dark, is it?
It's funny, isn't it? So it's always the ones that you think are gonna not do, like, oh, I'll just throw this in there, that's fine. And then that's the one that fucking comes to life, and you're like, fuck, man. Like, I really thought it was gonna be my other joke. Like, I used to have a joke about, and this was quite dark. I used to have a joke about how women would rather roll the dice taking an illegal cab home and the worst possible situation they might get themselves in as a result of that. They would rather roll the dice on that than come home with me. Yeah. Because, like, they would rather have unconsensual sex with this guy than actually come, like, and there was something, dark and horrible. And yes, okay, I get it. Like, but to me, I was like, there's something in that. And yet, there was nothing in that. People were actually
they get
upset.
really angry about that sort of stuff. I've always wanted to do a sketch of like The Apprentice, and when they go off in the cab at the end. I've always wanted to do that sort of thing, and then they go off in the cab, and then something bad, like just sort of, this isn't where my house is, and it just comes up, do not take illegal mini cabs.
Yeah, like the whole 12-part series was just like a stretched out advert for it. Government campaign. I remember you saying to me a few years ago now, when the first wave, if you like, of comedy offence was kicking off, probably around the Dapper time when Dapper was
down.
Yeah. I remember you saying like right now the pendulum is swinging this way, but eventually people will get fucking fed up with it because there's no humor in that, and it will swing the other way. They'll be looking for something refreshing and something that doesn't stay within the parameters of what is acceptable comedy.
I mean, not necessarily like completely the way. Just it swings. I think personally, when we were doing stand up, the pendulum was maybe a little bit too extreme. So I think it was that sort of time of where people were trying to be shocking, and maybe it was a bit too extreme and also a bit too offensive. And then it swings way too far the other way. And I'm just hoping now it's sort of nice and in the middle. Like people can handle a little bit, but also myself and other people have learned that, okay, there are things that you need to be aware of, but not necessarily everything. Like, you can still push it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny though, like there's stuff that I never would have thought would bleed into the comedic discourse that has done. Like, even fucking today, like today and yesterday, Alfie Brown, somebody dug up some old stand-up footage of his, and I think I haven't watched it, so I'm one of these people that I fucking hate, where it's like, now I'm going to share my opinion about a thing that I haven't even watched. But I gather from what I've read that he used some, I don't want to say derogatorial terms or like outdated terminology or something.
Well, it's an outdated clip. Like, what can you do?
Like, so it's from years ago, which, I get it's not necessarily a get out of jail free card just because something happened a few years ago. So there's that. But I also think, like, are we coming for comedians now? Like, I get this. Yeah. Like I say, there's parameters that you can sit within and you shouldn't step outside of, but I do feel like there's a case to be made for, like, look, seriously, like, if you're coming for comedians and satirists and like where's your target? Where's the person who actually deserves your ire? Is this guy over here, the big fat fucking grey-haired cunt in a three-piece suit over, like, that's stealing your fucking money? Like, why are you wasting your time?
That's the main problem with the world, isn't it? It's just distraction. It's people going after people that are, all comedians are trying to do is essentially make you laugh. That's even if they say the worst, horrible stuff that you go, geez, that is the most offensive thing I've ever heard. Yeah. It is only come from a place of, I want to make you laugh. Yeah. Really. And
well, sometimes it comes from a place of ego, I think.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. But I still think that yeah, I just think that mainly it is from just to try and make people laugh. Even if it's from ego and they want to be a great comedian, they want to be famous, it still comes from, I just want to make people laugh. There's no way you're going up there and you want to offend someone, or even say a truth. You don't want to go up there and go, right, this is my stand-up set, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about the world. It's like, well, that's not stand-up, is it? That's a completely different thing. So it's just, it's just horrible. I mean, you could dig up, there's things that I've said in the past in old videos and things, but you've got to learn, haven't you, as a stand-up? And especially you have to learn where the line is. And the only way to learn where that line is, unless you stay far away from it and end up on Live at the Apollo, the only way to learn where that line is to step over it and go, oh, okay, no, okay, that's too far, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, it's if you don't test those boundaries, you're never going to find out where that acceptability is. And unfortunately, for a lot of these guys, the acceptability boundary is actually where the biggest laughs are. Like, somebody should draw a graph about that, because it's like it sort of crescendos. Yeah. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You could get a massive laugh just tiptoe dancing on the cliff of acceptability. Yeah. But if you step a little bit too far, no laughs and career over.
But it's always been my problem. It's like, I don't have gigs where people go
yeah.
I have gigs where people cry laughing and they're loving it. Or I have gigs where they want to kill me and walk out, and it's hard to deal with that as an act. But I'd rather that big laughter than just sort of
Yeah, I remember. Do you remember your first gig that went really well?
I don't know.
Is this where you say, my gigs have always gone well, Ed? Don't know about
They've always no, they have not. They have not. Jeez, that's the thing. I can think of, as a comedian, you always look at the person who's not laughing.
Yeah.
As you know, so I always think in my head of the gigs that went terrible. I never think of the gigs that went really well.
Yeah. Well, because we've got like problem-solving brains, haven't we, humans? So you focus on the bad shit. Or at least that's what I tell myself. When I'm like, do I bitch too much? Do I like rant too much? Like, no. It's you got a human brain. It's a problem solver. Like that's
yeah. That's true. Yeah, true. Because you're looking out and you're going, how do I make this?
Yeah.
How do I do it? Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, like you do. We sort of focus and we remember on the bad get. Like I still remember bombing through my asshole in Dirty Dicks the night before I did my Leicester Square show. And like the Leicester Square show went amazing, but the last gig before that was my worst fucking ever gig. It's so bad. Like hecklers like you wouldn't believe. People shouting the like really mean-spirited stuff that was probably only about 70% true.
I hate hecklers. That's everyone thinks that heckling is part of comedy. Like there was a time, and not so much now. There was a time where actually, no, unlike TikTok and stuff, everybody puts up posts of hecklers, and it's almost like become a thing of like, you go to a comedy show, oh, how's he going to deal with the heckler? It's like, no, that's not being a comedian. Like, the heckling is the worst part of it. It's just someone annoying the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And then you have to just put them down. And I hate it.
The one thing I will say about dealing with hecklers is like the audience want you to handle them and to belittle them.
Yeah.
And they will give you license. You've got more bandwidth as the stand-up on the stage holding the mic to be able to neutralize that person by saying something actually quite mediocre. Like you don't have to say anything that funny because the audience are already on your side. They fucking hate the guy that's interrupting the show. So that's quite
unless you go overboard with that, and then suddenly the audience is all against you. And I've done that before. I've someone shouted something, and I was very new, and I didn't really know what to say, and I sort of went full throttle on these people, and everyone. Then I got another heckle of whoa, that's too far.
Can you expand on that? Can you tell us what you said?
It was a joke I used to do about an ex-girlfriend with some yazoo. So I think you know. But yeah, basically the whole idea with the joke was I was trying to lead the audience down a path and get them to like me and get them to be on my side and be like, oh, this girlfriend really annoyed me and she put milkshake all over my bed. So then what I did was I went to the local shop. I got a crate of yazoo, chocolate, banana, strawberry. And the audience is like, yeah, I'm with you. And I went round the house and then I Sexually assaulted her mum, basically. And that the joke was, I liked the idea of leading the audience down that path and getting them to be completely on board with me.
Yeah.
And then switch it so they're like, oh my God, we're completely against this.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. And I did that. And yeah, these people in the crowd were like, whoa.
Yeah. But then that's a great example of an obvious joke. And you're explaining it very well in terms of like the comedic device to it.
Yeah.
Which I could geek out on this stuff for fucking hours, but it's like you're leading them up the garden path, as you said. They're now existing in a place of safety because they think, obviously, you're going to say, "Oh, I poured the yazoo all over her bed to get her back," like that. They think it's a cunty thing to do, but it's like, they're on your side. And then when you just take it so fucking far to the nth degree, it's like you have
the biggest extreme.
Yeah, but you've got two comedic devices there. You've got the leading them up the garden path over this way, and then you switch it to that, which they weren't expecting. But then you've also got the exaggeration piece there.
Yeah.
And yet, now I think if you did that, if you had a sort of, a even half significant Twitter following, if you posted a clip like that, I wonder what would happen. I wonder if people would come after you.
I can't imagine. I don't do that bit anymore purely because it used to fill me with dread. Like it either went down amazing or it went down awful. And I don't. I just stay away from it now. I think, well, I don't need to go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine if it was on. The thing is, it would just. There would be two sides of the extreme. That's why I'm not on Twitter. I can't stand all that. It'd just be. Some people will be going, yeah, free speech. And then the other people will be going, oh, this is awful. And I can't be bothered with that. And they don't get the whole point of the joke. People would take it as he's being shocking. Whereas it's like the whole point for me was working with those comedic devices and trying to do that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, so going back to one of my first gigs, I remember I got into it's just so fucking petty of me, but just as we're on the subject of like first gigs going well and then jokes that we dread and feeling that fright on stage. And I remember I had this email exchange with some friends and I said, what was it we were talking about? We were talking about this guy had just proposed to his girlfriend and they were like, oh my God, like that's amazing. Like, how did he do it? And so I sent this like 2-3 paragraph story back saying like, yeah, look, he arranged everything with the parents and then he went and picked her up and he told her that he was going to take her away to this place, but then actually he took her away to that place and he drove her all the way down to her favorite place that she had told him about was her like favorite place in childhood where she used to spend time thinking and reading and stuff, and he took her right to that lovely place because he's such a sweet guy, and he took out her favorite stuff and then the ring and it was so romantic and it was a beautiful day, and then he said like, will you marry me? And she said yeah, and then they replied back and they were like, my God, that's so sweet, that's so romantic. And then I replied back again, I was like, I made all of that shit up. He just literally took her to a pub, got pissed, and then he went like, will you marry me, like out in the street. She was like, yeah, oh my God, I love you, like, and then they replied back, they were like, that's really weird that you made all that up. And it really like hollowed me out, because I was like, fuck you, that's not weird, that's fucking funny, like what are you talking. And then that night, I went to Dirty Dicks, to the We Are Funny project, and I tried an idea that I'd been toying with for a little bit, but I had always thought it was too weird. Can't remember what the fuck it was now. And it fucking lit the room alight, and I was like, whoa, I like this.
Nice.
And I was talking to a girl that I was seeing then, and I was like, I'm so fucking excited. Like she had no interest in comedy at all, or like me doing stand-up or anything. And I was like boring her to tears, just going like, but I've tried this bit and I'm so excited. She's like, will you shut the fuck up? Take me for dinner. Like,
my girlfriend gets so annoyed. She loves comedy as well. She loves comedy. She always comes to gigs and stuff, but constantly afterwards she hates it. I'm just like, did this bit go well? And what about when I said this? And what about this? Do you think it'd be better if this? And she's so fed up with it now. And fair enough. I totally get it.
Everyone that's close to a comedian gets fed up with it, don't they? It starts
Yeah.
off as like a cool thing,
Mm.
like, oh shit, Ben, you're doing stand up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
oh, you're so brave, Ben. You're so brave.
Yeah.
How'd you
And
get
they
up
go,
there?
oh, the reason is because he's very insecure and and he needs constant reassurance. Yeah. Oh, now I don't like him.
It's like pulling up the curtain to who you really are.
No, this is why I do it. This is why I do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were just a confident, cool guy.
Yeah.
No.
Stand-up comedians may look confident and cool on stage when they say the things that they've pre-written to be cool and practiced 200 times before to be funny. But yes, underneath, just ruined human beings, broken human beings.
Yeah.
What made you go back to it? Because I know at one point you were like, no, fuck stand-up, man, I'm done.
Well, I still hate it. I hate where stand-up is now. I hate it. It's boring. I mean, you look at like who's on at the Comedy Store and stuff, like the top clubs. I mean, I wouldn't go and pay to watch it. I think it's awful. I think.
Is there anyone that's at the Comedy Store who you wouldn't pay to go and watch that you'd like to reveal their names? Let's throw some shade. Let's rake some muck here.
Well, to be honest, it's just because I probably know them and I think I've seen them loads of times. And
this is even better. We can get a real beef going.
There's a girl. What's her name? They're probably nice people, but I mean, obviously Russell Kane is at the Comedy Store now and again, and that man is
Comedy cancer.
He is comedy cancer. He's my nemesis. I hate that man so much.
So like when I last went to the Comedy Store, which was a few years ago now, I saw Paul Thorne was the MC, a bald chap.
Okay, they're all bald.
I think no, because Mick Ferry does MCing there too, right?
I just mean comedians in general. Most comedians are bald.
So Paul Thorne was also bald, but he was and also a comedian. But he did a phenomenal job of MCing, and now MCs there, and obviously she is phenomenal. I know Joe Jacobs does sets there, and he's pretty good. I haven't seen him for a few years actually, but last time I saw him, he was pretty good. I don't know who else I've seen that's on the bill that I've thought like, yeah, that's mind you, I'm not really that close to it anymore. I'm more involved in like politics and podcasting now.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's Do
you think there's a gap in the market?
The problem is, I'm trying really hard. When I first started stand up, I was very open with what I thought about other comedians and what I did, And now I just feel like I can't say what I really think because it just looks like I'm bitter, or it looks like I'm somehow saying I'm better than them, and I'm not at all. I'm a comedy fan. So when I see people like, God, this is such utter garbage, and I can't.
Oh no, no, not.
She was horrible to me. She called me a silly white boy, and
when was that?
I found that basically she had. Oh, I don't want to. God, do I have to go into this?
Yeah.
Basically, she was moaning about not getting an advert or not being on TV and stuff. And I said, we were friends. Like, I really liked her, and we got on really well. And then
you played my gigs together.
Man, we were friends. Like, I thought this is what happens in comedy. You think you're friends with someone, and then they just turn around and shit on your face.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to do that later, but yes,
exactly. Yeah, you probably will. You'll probably put this out as disgusting, horrible comedian bananas. But no, and I just said about. Oh, well, there's quite a lot of black people in adverts now, it should be all right. And then she was just like, shut up. You're a little white boy. You've been in adverts and you're just lucky because you're a white boy. And
But were you saying this as... Because I can sort of see both sides here.
So you know what? As I'm saying it sounds like I am being like, no. Oh, God, the black people are always in adverts anymore. But I was being a friend with it. I was genuinely being nice and a friend with it. It's all good. The tide's turning. Like, you'll be all good, and
but were you?
Don't worry.
But like, was it a kind of a near the knuckle joke? Like,
no, it really wasn't. It was just a friend saying it, and then she went to town on me and started calling me a little white boy, and I don't like that because I would never refer to her as
See, I don't like. I'm trying to sort of understand it really, like the exchange that you had, but it's like if she was gutted or worried about not getting the advert, and then you said, "Well, don't worry, there's like loads of black people in adverts."
Oh no, I didn't. No, it wasn't that. It was. She was more annoyed that she wasn't on TV, and I mean, 2 weeks later, she was on TV, and she was getting really big. So, like I said, I don't like going into it, and it's fine. It doesn't matter, but it just annoyed me that we were friends, and then suddenly I'm like a little white boy. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that was what I was, to her. I guess it just annoyed me.
The thing that I've learned as I've got older is you have to, and this is an impossible thing to factor in, right? So I feel fucking ridiculous saying it, but you almost have to factor in other people's lived experiences into what you're saying to them in that exact moment, even though you're not fucking aware of it. So like, for example, a few months ago, I said something to like somebody I went to school with, and I said something that was later, in retrospect, careless and a bit insensitive to the, like, I hesitate to use the word trauma, but she had been through some shit, right? And and I said some stuff, and she went way off the fucking handle, like really tore into me, and I was like my instinctive reaction was like, whoa, like fucking, like what the are we okay? Yeah. I guess we're not friends anymore. Like, I was super defensive, and then it was only afterwards I was like, maybe I should have factored that in. And even though she is being super irrational and actually quite hurtful, is there a responsibility on me to accept that actually there's some damage done there? But then, even, do you know what? Even saying that,
but just don't be racist to me. Basically, like, I don't like racism in any way.
But then you said, don't worry. Like, there's loads of black. Like, you can't. Come on, man.
No, I meant it in a nice way. Like you're good. Like, it's all good. Like, you're going to get the opportunities, and guess what? She did. Like, she's doing really well. I was right. Like, good on her. Good on her. But let's not talk about.
Okay, look, fine.
It's fine. She's a lovely woman. We were very good friends. She decided to call me a little white boy. That's fine. I'll take it on the chin.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
That's what I think about racism. Let's move on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a funny old game though, isn't it? Like stand up, because as you say, like you build up these relationships, you build up friendships and close acquaintances with people, and you assume that these people are, at least to some extent, like friends or friendly with you.
Yeah.
And yet, I think I've spoken about this before, but like when I became a dad and I was just propelled out of doing like 3-4 gigs a week and then living in Guildford, not gigging at all, removed from it all, I assumed that the people who I'd gigged with, and I hesitate to say given opportunities to, but they were, modest opportunities. I'd let people have a headline spot. I'd paid them when nobody else was paying them. And
I can already hear you're going to apologise for these people, and fuck them, quite frankly. Because if you've given them opportunities and you've been friendly with them and they've turned around and shoved it in your face, then it's not right.
I wasn't going to apologise for them, actually. I was going to say, like, it's sort of an extension of your point. Like, it's kind of, I felt like we had built up, and I won't name them. I'm not going to muck rake myself.
You forced me to name them, hey.
But like,
you forced me.
I know, but I felt like we had built up such a rapport that when I then messaged them afterwards, and I was ostensibly a postpartum mum, really, like at home with this baby. The baby's crying. I'm just changing nappies. I miss stand-up with all my fucking heart. Like I lived and breathed stand-up for like 4 or 5 years, and then to just be removed from it completely. And then I'm messaging these people saying like, look, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, would you mind sending, like, could you just record one of your sets, or like, just like send me a video of like how your Fringe thing goes? Like, I sort of need to feel connected to it. And I know it sounds ridiculous and pathetic and whatever, but
no.
But would
fine.
You mind like sending it? And fucking wall of silence. Like, and one of them is like now a sort of TV name. And
come on. You made me name someone, you have to name them.
His name was Ben Adams. No.
I wish I was.
And he's a real cut. No. But like the guy replied back and he said, oh man, like I'm a bit shy. And I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, you're at Edinburgh Fringe performing every night for a month.
I'm a
Spending
bit
like
shy.
10 grand putting this thing on. I'm a bit shy. I'm like, do you know what? It's okay. It's fine. Like I'm here. I'm going through some stuff, but I thought.
I mean,
we were friends.
maybe to take it, maybe he wasn't very proud of his show. Maybe he wasn't very, and you're someone that he respects and knew him when he was sort of, starting up. Maybe he thought, I'm a bit ashamed of what I've done, and I'm trying to get somewhere. And I've done some things that I don't really want to do. Maybe he's thinking, well, Aid's an actual comedy fan, so. I don't know it. I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah, I might tell you after we've stopped streaming.
I can't believe you, mate. I can't believe I've embarrassed myself. And
you've fallen right into my trap. Ben Adams.
Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to the missus about it, and I was like, I just feel like completely ostracized, and it just feels incredibly insensitive. But then she was like, do you know what? Maybe, what comedians are like with their material. They don't want people to burn it. They don't want it shared before they're ready to. It's possible that he thinks that you are going to use it in one of like at the time I was doing those YouTube documentary things. And I was like, yeah, but I would never use it without asking. But anyway, it's all water under the bridge now.
If you ever want one of my sets, Aid, you're very welcome to it. You're
that's very
welcome
nice
to it. I'll send it to you every day.
I think I've still got some of ours, like from back in the day. Oh, God.
Oh, no. Delete them. I'll get cancelled.
From the Panda Riot. Yeah, I mean...
No, it was good. I loved doing that gig. That gig was great. I absolutely loved it. With lovely as well. We used to have such a good time. I think that's the problem, isn't it? With stand-up friendships and stuff. You get really butthurt because I feel... Because I'm quite an honest person. I'm quite an open person. That I feel genuinely hurt. That I'm like, oh, I can't believe... I thought we were friends, and it turns out, oh, okay, it's just a professional sort of...
Yeah.
And I think that's what's hard.
I think it's harder also when, not just like I think that I'm your friend, but then when something actually quite trivial then like ruins it. It's like, well, hang on a second. Like, this feels like a superficial little misunderstanding to me, but you're willing to just torch our... 3 or 4 years of knowing each other over that. Like, why don't you just ask me what why I would feel comfortable saying something so hurtful,
I'm close, I like to think me and you are good friends.
No, go fuck yourself, man.
If you were to write something on
you're
something
just a little white boy.
How dare you? No, but if you'd wrote something, I'd like to think, if I'd annoyed you by writing something, I'd like to think you'd message me or something. Go, I didn't really appreciate that. And then oh my God, there'd be a dialogue.
Yeah.
Instead of sort of, but getting back, let's get back to the reason that you should go back into stand-up. If you and me and anyone wants to get back into it, the reason why I got back into it is because, like you say, you feel so alienated, and you feel like it's something that it's a really small community that it's a massive community, but it feels small, and it's something you can never get away from. Like I used to do sets to myself after I'd had a few beers in my kitchen, and it gets to the point where you think, well, I should do this. I need that buzz. I need to get this out of my body and do it on stage, because otherwise it's useless.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like I always said. So, like, before I had kids, I was like, if I have a son and a daughter.
Have you got kids?
I've got 2 children, Ben.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I very rarely talk about being a dad.
No, I know, yeah.
And childcare. I always said, like, if I have 2 kids, and they're both really, really lonely, I would say to the boy, I'd be like, go and get a job. In his teens, I'd be like, go and get a job in a bowling alley, because bowling alleys are a lot of fun. But if my daughter says, like, I wish I had more friends, I'd be like, stay away from the fucking bowling alley. Like, it's just raucous. But this in a sort of similar way, when you get into your 20s, like, I wish I'd started stand up a lot sooner, about 10 years earlier than I did. But it's if all of your friends pair up and move out, or they all become parents, or they all just get a bit boring, or you're just a bit of a loner and you would like to make more friends, There is honestly, there's very few things, I think, in a city like London where you can, because everything's so fleeting, everything moves so fast, but there's very few things that you could build up that level of camaraderie. I don't know, there's just something about like, oh, he's 70 years old? Oh, but he's a comedian. Okay, right, I've got something in common. Or like, you know, a South Asian lady over here, or the, you know, like, but everyone, like, doesn't matter what walk of life they come from, everyone's got that thing that they're all, you know.
I always, when you talk to people that aren't comedians, you're like, oh God, I wish I was talking to a comedian. Right? Comedians just get it. They just know it's a weird thing. It sounds very arrogant to say, but it's not that. It's not that we're better. It's just there's a certain sort of shorthand. Well, I mean, come on. No, but there's a shorthand and there's a certain understanding, and you kind of go, oh yeah, okay. Like when I first met my my girlfriend, my fiance now.
Did you propose by driving her to her favourite childhood place?
I did. I drove her to our uncle's house, and we sat there and we sat him down and we talked about everything that had happened. And I
mean, let's just stop there, right? You carry on the trajectory that we were at before.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So, with my fiance, I saw her on Hinge, and I saw that she had done a gig somewhere where I thought I had done a gig. It looked like the Dog Star in Brixton, but it wasn't. But anyway, but it was immediately that I was like, oh, okay, like we might have something in common here. And then when I met up with her for the first time, we chatted and chatted for hours, and it was like, because she had done comedy, there was just something there. There was some sort of instant connection, and that you don't get with people that haven't done comedy.
Yeah, I think it's a sort of it's a nice like cocktail blend of being a little bit needy, a little bit not self-assured, but also just confident enough in the wrong way to know, or shameless enough to get up on stage and then expect a room of people to laugh at you. I
think it's more people that don't know where they fit into the world. It's more people that they don't fit in with their family. They don't fit in with maybe their certain friends that from school and things like that. I mean, it is for me anyway. It's always people that are on the outskirts looking in. And that's what is nice, because you go, oh, we're both observers. We're both people that don't fit in anywhere, but we fit into this little circuit. And
yeah, it's sort of what would it be called in high school movies? It would be like, you know, like outcasts, isn't it?
Yeah.
People who don't necessarily fall into the normal buckets of subcultures
But then it's sort of weird, because you are sort of on the outskirts, but also because you've got this wit or like comedic sort of talent. I mean, not everybody does, but but because you do, you sort of can fit into places, but you always feel like an alien. I mean, that's how I feel. I feel like I can fit into pretty much anywhere. Like I can fit in and I can be liked, but I'm not quite one of them. I don't feel like one of them.
Yeah. I feel like the most at home I've felt in a group of people for a long time was talking amongst a bunch of comedians after a gig. It's like, you can go and like catch up with your mates from your hometown, and you can, you know, go out for a beer with your mates from work after the office. But there's nothing quite like just shooting the shit with a bunch of comedians who have just come off stage, and like, you know, this guy had a bad set, but this guy had a fucking great one, and you're all trading ideas about what worked and what didn't, and that table over there were fucking chatting the whole time. How annoying were they? And like, there's something about it that it doesn't matter what background you come from. Like, we're all, I don't know.
Well, I obviously stopped performing and even doing acting and stuff. I just stopped, and when I moved back to Portsmouth, and I was like, right, I'm just going to get a job. I'm going to be a manager of a restaurant, which I really I love hospitality. So I just really do. I really do. Like, I really like it. Like, I really thrive.
It's rare to meet somebody who loves hospitality but hates people. I mean, that's...
Well, I hate people. I can't stand the customers, but I love the idea. Like, I love the team. I love all the little parts of it, and I know how to run a good bloody restaurant and a bar. Like, I know. And I think that's kind of nice to think, oh yeah, I'm good at this. But everybody there, it's like you talk about customers and you go, oh, do you recognize it? And you'd make observations about things, but they're not on that level. They don't think about those sort of things. So you're sort of performing, you're sort of saying these observations. Yeah. And they're like, what? Well, I don't know. I don't know what you mean. And it's like, oh. So you miss that. And then, I had to get back.
Have you ever been like assessed for ADHD?
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Oh, I'm sure I could be assessed. I went to a doctor's about ADHD because I started believing all the, the nonsense. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I've got ADHD. And I went to the doctor and he said, adults don't get ADHD.
That's what my doctor said too.
Do you know what? The best thing the doctor ever said to me, basically he was telling me to grow up. And I think that was a good, it was a good diagnosis.
That's really interesting because so I went to the doctor and they told me ostensibly the same thing. And I took it completely differently. I took it like I felt dismissed and not taken seriously.
Yeah, I did it first.
But I've spoken to other people since who have been assessed for ADHD and who have since been diagnosed in adulthood.
There's about 1,000. Yeah.
They're like,
so many.
It's like it makes sense to them. They think back to how they were treated in school, and I'm like, I didn't like. Basically, my GP said to me, "Did you get in trouble in school a lot?" And I said, no, not really. And he was like, yeah, you probably don't have ADHD then. And I was like, that's it. That's the extent of the exam. Okay, right. Great. But I've since fucking forever, I've had trouble concentrating, staying focused. I start this and then I stop it. And then I seem to share a lot of attributes and tick boxes with friends.
I've just never met anyone that doesn't have those problems. I've never met anyone that goes, oh yeah, I find it really easy to concentrate. And
yeah, but then look at if I look at my employment track record, there's a lot of times there where I'm like, if I had just been able to stay focused, if I could have just fucking stay. But then I don't know. There's another part of me that's like, because it was a fucking boring job at 8.
Exactly. No one likes their job. No one likes getting up for work.
I like my job now. Like, my job's great, but back in the day, it's like I worked in recruitment. I fucking hated it. Yeah. Like, if I could have just stayed focused on this really
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I just think, I don't know. I wonder, don't get me wrong. Sure, if you've been diagnosed with ADHD, then, and it helps you. That's all great. Get the help you need. But I do wonder, I do wonder how much it does help you to have that sort of, I don't want to say excuse, but I'm going to.
So I know, yeah.
I don't know how much that helps you as a person. If you have got ADHD, surely, is it not? If you've reached like our age, is it not pointless to sort of start now? Is it think, well, I've learned how to deal with how I am my whole life, and
I think
now suddenly.
I don't know if people have learned to deal, like they're still feeling unsettled. They still feel like they can't do things that the general population can.
Yeah. And no, but I feel like that. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I feel like, but for the grace of God, I've landed in a job where I can actually function around people who know how I operate. But for a lot of people out there, I think, if you work in Tesco's or WH Smith's or...
Not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be working in Tesco's or WH Smith. That's your issue.
Do, and they function perfectly well in those roles. And then there's other people who are like, I can't stay for So I think for those people, they're still trying to make sense of that condition. And then when they go to the GP and finally they find a GP who actually takes it seriously and then diagnoses and medicates them, they're like, oh my God, is this how normal people think all the time? Because now I can actually do shit.
But who wants to be normal? Who wants to be the person that's so happy with their job in Tesco's?
Well, did you ever listen to that Doug Stanhope bit where he was talking about, he was like, oh, now I'm going to do my Doug Stanhope impression. He's now it's really great because I'm medicated and now I could just look at this box and fold it over and I do this for 17 hours a day. And
Exactly. It's we're not supposed to do that. So it's like you might be medicated, but I see it more as sort of conformity pills. It's like, well, you can be a nice drone for society now. Off you go.
At least until the robots take over, right?
Oh yeah, no, the robots will take over, and then they'll get ADHD, and then we'll have to.
You could probably hire in the first batch of Amazon robots, And then they'll bring out like the second generation who like replicate ADHD behavior because it would be like a sort of like a product kink. Like,
and then you have to medicate them with certain software and I mean, I think it's a byproduct of living in a society that we're not supposed to really be in. We're not supposed to live like this. Like, it doesn't make any natural sense to live how we live now. So of course that's going to cause problems. Of course that's going to go against our brains. Like, of course it is. Why wouldn't it? We're supposed to go out and hunt and gather our food. We're not supposed to get boxes of Hello Fresh that come.
I used to do a podcast like way back in the day, but like if we'd stuck at it, it probably would have been quite big by now because I have majorly missed the podcast. But
same.
Clearly. But
well, you haven't. You're doing very well. Don't.
Well, it's going okay.
Don't put yourself down. It's going great.
You know, if I'd started it in like 2014 or something, you know, how big could I have been? I mean,
man, there's lots of things you could. You know, we both could have done in the past.
If only I had been medicated. But,
are you medicated now?
No, I'm not.
Good.
But I've been told, like, this will shock nobody, but like for fucking ever, I've been told by like, you know, 10, 20, 30 people, like, either you're a weird guy or like, are you okay? Or like, you know, like all of these sort of leading loaded questions where I've been like, do normal people not like, I remember I did an internship at Star FM in Slough once. And I made some joke about the photocopy paper, not edgy. This is, you know, pre-edgy, right? I made some shit joke about photocopy paper and the smell of it. And this guy who was a sales guy, like, heard the joke, looked at me and just with a look of scorn, just judgment, just like literally just went like, are you all right? Like it was so cunty. I was like, I'm fine. And then he went back to his sales job and then that was that. But it's always stuck with me that I'm like, there are people who, for them, it's just sales and spreadsheets and nothing that goes outside of the guardrails of like acceptable conversation. And so like when you say, are you on any sort of medication at the moment, even though within the context of people saying, are you okay? You are a bit weird or whatever. I always think, and this is probably the worst way to think for anyone that does have mental health problems, but I always think I probably don't want to be medicated because I would worry that I was going to lose that slightly weird comedic thing.
I've been diagnosed with manic depression, bipolar, probably ADHD, probably on the autistic spectrum, like if you really go into it. But I don't want to. As soon as I'm medicated, and I was on sertraline, citalopram, as soon as I was medicated, I remember I was on sertraline, and whilst in the bedroom, it was great. It took ages to come. It was fantastic. Honestly, for that, great. But
sertraline, you say? Okay.
Sertraline, you can go for hours. Honestly, it's fantastic. But you don't really want to because you're just so numb. Like, I didn't create anything. I create videos all the time. Anything I can think of, I create, even stupid videos. But for a year, while I was on that, I didn't create a single thing. I didn't write one joke. And I was like, okay, I need to get off this because clearly the weirdness in me is what spurs my creativity. And that's...
Could also be like, I mean, they do say that some of these things affect like motivation. You might be a little bit more can't think of the right adjective now, but they did, like, one of my old friends from my hometown was on antidepressants for quite a while, and to get him, well, first off, it sort of kept him in the house for about a year, and to get him to do anything sort of creative or to snap out of that mindset was a fucking mission. And then he ended up changing his medication. He was completely different. So it can, I don't know, can be a little bit.
I'm a bit hippie-ish when it comes to it. I just think all the problems are in the mind. As long as you can settle your mind, be a bit, hey, I know it's a dirty word, but be a bit spiritual about it.
Oh my God.
Try. Oh my God, I'd rather take some talipram all day long than believe in God. But no, but just try. I'm not talking about God or anything, but I mean just spiritual in yourself. Try and center yourself. Try and know yourself. Try and be, at peace with yourself, and then you're not going to be so. Oh God, I'm so weird. I'm so weird compared to other people. Because yeah, you are weird compared to other people. So am I. But that's why we're doing a podcast right now. Like that's what makes us different. That's what
There's
should
also
spur you on.
There's also sort of funny like subtext or element to that in like, yeah, you are weird, but that's why A, as you said, like we're doing a podcast, but B, that's why you should go into open mic comedy. Like the rest of fucking, like there are so many people, like, I mean, here we are talking about the camaraderie and making friends on the circuit, and everyone's different but everyone's the same kind of, but there is, I mean, there's a lot of people that get into open mic comedy as a conduit, as a way of expressing some of those anxieties. Yeah. And they really come into themselves. Like they find a way to express that trauma or that the feelings that they've always had about being a little bit weird or not being the funny one or being the funny one or like, I don't know.
I think that's what's so great about it. And the only problems come when you start trying to make it your career, when you start trying to, I'm not getting this gig, I'm not getting that gig, when really you should just see it as, this is an outlet for my weirdness. This is how I'm going to deal with, rather than take pills every day, I'm going to do this. And it doesn't have to be stand-up. It could be anything like that. But I think you need it if you're like us, if you're, I mean, the amount of comedians that have got ADHD now, of course they do, because that's what they need to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a tie in there. I mean, like, I saw there's a tweet from somebody. I can't remember who the fuck it was now. And I always try to credit people when I reference their tweets on this, but like, it was a tweet and it said like, my friend is a comedian and he's just been diagnosed as not having ADHD. Like that was the thing. That was the big story.
I like it.
Yeah, I was like, yes, yeah, like so many, like, and I only just dipped my toe back into the stand-up thing ahead of that Soho gig, but so many routines start with, my name's Carly, and I live here in Dalston, and I've got ADHD, and let me tell you about that, and it's like
That's what my new set is all about. It's all about how everyone has to have a thing, and it's like you can't. I do find there's a lot of white men doing it because they feel my whole set is about how I'm just a white man. It's boring now and it's not very marketable. So I have to try and think of something that's interesting to try and put myself out above the rest.
Or you won't get those adverts.
Oh, no, I don't get adverts anymore. Doesn't happen. It does not happen. I know. Tell me about it. God, I should start moaning on Facebook about how many adverts I'm not getting.
All right. Okay. Let's not go down that tangent. Ben Adams, we've been talking for an hour, man, so I'm going to have to let you go.
I'm only joking, by the way. It's all fun. It's all games. Honestly, me and like that, we're all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Guys, that's really good.
That's it. Thank you very much to my guest, Ben Adams, for joining me tonight. An hour of his time after he's been podcasting all day.
All day long, honestly. It's just,
And he still found some more words to say to me tonight. You can grab him. You can catch up with Ben. You can follow him. That's probably a more, orthodox way of saying it.
Follow me. I'm terrible at this stuff. I don't care if anyone follows me. So I never try and say like, oh yeah, follow me on this, follow me. If you want to, you can.
Yeah, you can seek him out. I'm gonna give him a shout out though. He's on Instagram and TikTok as @BenAdamsMan on both. He's also doing stand-up in and around London, so keep your eyes peeled on that. You've got a Brighton Fringe show coming up soon. What's that called?
Yes, Black Sheep Comedy.
There you go. Black Sheep Comedy at Brighton Fringe. Before I go, big shout-outs to this week's new Patreon backers, Samantha and Rodri. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Rodri? Rod? I hope that's right. I hope that doesn't come.
Well, he's just turned that off. He's gone now. Right, that's it.
Sam and Rod, unsubscribed straight away. Glad to have you guys in the Binfluencer cult. I'm looking forward to the next in-person meetup on Friday, the 28th of April in London. That is a sort of meetup, piss-up thing. A lot of people who do these podcasts and YouTuber kind of They want to do meetups and Q&As and meet and greets and, you know, autographs. Like, I'm not going to do any of that. I want it to be something a bit more me. So meeting up in a pub and just talking shit and drinking with everyone is more, that is my natural habitat. So that is 28th of April. That's just over a month away. If you're not on the Patreon yet and you want to come along to that, or the live stand-up stuff and the podcasting that I'm arranging for July, or things like the show that me and Danny Price did a few weeks ago, and you get the podcast 2 days before everyone else, and the Discord. I mean, there's just limitless benefits here, people. And you get credited / named and shamed at the end of episodes like this. So big shout outs to my Patreons. Rodri Williams, Samantha, Matthew, Jeff, Ailsa, Mark, Eddie, Kai, Stuart, and then we've got Anthony, Pingu, David, Alex, Chris D, Silent, T-Rex, Sarah, and Kerry. Thank you so much for continuing your support of the podcast. Anyway, for all that and more, jump on patreon.com/Aid Thompson with an IN. Join my goddamn cult. That's it from me. I'll be back on Wednesday next week with a solo show where I'll be ranting, roasting, and ridiculing the news. Until then, stay safe. I'm out, and keep it booch.